Good morning, everybody. Representative Tom Tiffany is back for another episode of Breakfast with Tiffany. Today, April 8th, 2021. Excuse me. Special thank you to our recent guests, former Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Clayfish, candidate for U.S. Senate Tom Nelson, candidate for Wisconsin Governor Jonathan Wickman, Judge Greg Gill, who just won his election for Wisconsin's 3rd District Court of Appeals. So congratulations to Judge Gill. And on Tuesday, just a couple days ago, Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald and I were joined by Brent Walk, Polk County Sheriff, for our weekly Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy. But today, I'm very excited to welcome back the star of Breakfast with Tiffany, Representative Tom Tiffany. Tom, good morning. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, Ben. Good to see you. I am coming from long distance today down in McAllen, Texas, down in the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah, you're like Carmen Sandiego. It's like every time we talk, you're always at a different location. So
who's Carmen Sandiego?
Isn't that the Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? It was the computer game thing, and I think it was like a show, wasn't it? I think.
So this is why my daughters roll their eyes at me. I don't know some of these things in contemporary culture, Ben.
Well, there were when I was a kid, so I don't remember. Yeah. So because I know you've done it at your house, you've done it in other people's homes, you've done it at obviously like the basement of the Capitol. One time, I think it was in a hotel in Hudson, which I think that was the time that your power went out at the hotel. So that was an interesting show. So now you're in Texas. So obviously there's a lot to get into there while you're there, all the stuff that is going on. We missed our show last month because you are like the busiest person that I know. So I don't know, you're like signing bills or something stupid. So you couldn't be on the last time. So before we get to a lot of things that we want to discuss, a lot of important things that we want to discuss, what's been new with you?
Yeah, so over the last month, including why I missed last month's regularly scheduled time, is we've been voting on a lot of bills. And so I was not signing bills. In fact, I was voting no on bills. There were quite a number of bills. HR 1, the voting bill that would have federal takeover of our elections, the Equality Act, which would allow boys to be able to play girls' interscholastic sports, gun control laws. And I've largely been voting no on those bills coming through the House of Representatives. Most of them are sitting before the United States Senate at this point. And so while they've gone through the House, they still need to be passed by the Senate and then signed by President Biden. And hey, by the way, I understand that there's a local deputy in Polk County that was honored nationally. Deputy Vitalis, is that correct?
Yes. How cool is that? It's a nationwide or a national award right here. Local boy, Deputy Vitalis. He did an outstanding on this cold case thing. I'm just saying that's pretty amazing. And it's in your district, so now you can go and brag to all your peers. And you could say it's all like up because of you or something. I don't know.
No, we have the best law enforcement in the country, right in the 7th Congressional District. We have great people in the sheriff's departments, local police departments. They really do a good job, and they're good, honest people trying to do a good job. And it's great to see Deputy Vitalis get recognized by the National Sheriff's Association.
I know, right? That's legit. And that was one of the reasons we had Brent Walk on 2 days ago. I'm sure you have nothing but time on your hands, so you should go back and watch the show. It was a really good one. We missed our last chat, but obviously, again, before we get into this stuff, we like to kind of keep it a little casual and what's been news. So obviously, it's called Breakfast with Tiffany because we couldn't come up with anything, better. But so on that note, what'd you have for breakfast? You're in Texas. Do you have like a Texas breakfast, or I don't even know what that means?
So Ben, this is a bit of a sore spot this morning. I've been doing a bunch of interviews, and this Breakfast with Tiffany is actually keeping me from breakfast. And by 9 o'clock here, when we get done, I'm going to be really hungry, and I'm running down to the hotel restaurant to get breakfast.
If it's still open. Oh, the restaurant, I see. I thought it was like the, complimentary stuff. Continental breakfast.
It better be open. No, we're going to catch breakfast later after the show, and I see they have oatmeal on the menu. That's all I care about, Ben, as you know.
I do. Oh, I love talking to you. All right, so you're down in Texas, southern border, and I'm assuming you're down there with other. Actually, I know you're down there with other congresspersons. I'm assuming you're down there with the southern border czar, right? I'm assuming the vice president is down there with you. So, what have you guys been doing down there?
So your assumption would be incorrect. The vice president has not visited the border. In fact, when we did a roundtable yesterday, I asked the head of the union for the Border Patrol if he had heard from Vice President Kamala Harris, who a few weeks ago, President Biden charged with being the point person for the administration in regards to border activities down here. He has not heard from her, and nor has anyone else down here who are in official capacities, whether it's Border Service, Border Patrol, Office of Refugee Resettlement. They have, Vice President Harris has not been here, which is really unfortunate. So the reason I came down, Ben, is as part of the Judiciary Committee, this is in our jurisdiction, border issues. And a number of us said, we should come down here and see what's happening. Because, a lot of us, I think, have been hearing the stories about what is going on in the border. I mean, there's really some horrific stories that we're hearing, and we wanted to check it out for ourselves. And all I got to say, Ben, and I really say this in a sincere manner, and I say it in a nonpartisan manner, it's worse than the stories. We've seen it, and it is not pretty what's going on down here. The head of the Border Patrol, he has said this is unprecedented. And when you think about the events of the last couple decades, with millions of people coming in illegally into our country, primarily across the southern border, and when the Border Patrol says this is unprecedented, it is unbelievable what is happening down here.
So I'm glad you brought that up yesterday because I follow you on Twitter and I saw you had posted something on your representative Twitter page or your Twitter account, a link to that roundtable, and I think that was the one that you're referring to. And I don't remember what news outlet it was, so I apologize. It was not right. I can't remember the name of what it was that was streaming this or showing this. But I really I didn't watch much of it. I just kind of skipped through to see, okay, where's my guy, right? Where's our representative? Where's Tom Tiffany? So I skipped through and it was about halfway. But the camera didn't show the person I think that you were talking to, because I caught that part. And you had said just now that they didn't, that she hadn't been down there, the vice president. But I believe you also asked the question, do you expect her anytime soon? And this person, which I didn't know who that person was because they weren't on camera, had said no. Did that surprise you that this person, whomever that was, said we don't even expect her?
It doesn't entirely surprise me. Vice President Harris, when she was US Senator Harris in California, had a very adversarial relationship with the Border Patrol, which these people are law enforcement. They're just protecting our border. They're trying to keep drugs out. They're trying to keep terrorists out. They're saying that you have to come into our country legally. They're doing their job, and yet she won't meet with them. But it goes even deeper than that. She's simply not coming to the border at this point, and there's no press allowed in these facilities. When we went into the Donna, Texas facility, which is it's a temporary facility that was put up when Border Patrol, Border Service, and others began to understand what a huge crush of people were going to be streaming across the border. And keep in mind, so I'm in McAllen, Texas, down in the Rio Grande Valley. This is the area where they're all coming in because this is the shortest distance from Central America to up to the United States. But the Donna, Texas facility that we toured, and for those people that saw the pictures of the children who are kind of like in pens, and they had like those space age wraps, those silver wraps around them.
Yep, I remember seeing those.
That's in the Donna, Texas facility that was just built in the last couple months. It's a temporary facility that was put up. They had 3,000 kids in there earlier this week when we toured it. It's supposed to hold 250. Think about that, Ben. 3,000 children. It's only supposed to hold 250. And I couldn't put it any other way than being a farm boy and having seen, cattle in pens, calves in pens, stuff like that. That's what came back. That's what it reminded me of. These children We're basically in pens in this facility. There's another facility that we went to, Ben, that is under the Anzalduas Bridge, which spans from Texas over the Rio Grande into Mexico. It's a long bridge that stands up, I would say probably about 20 to 30 feet high. It's on cement pillars so that if there's flooding in the Rio Grande, it does not flood the bridge. Well, built under this bridge was a temporary facility that was built on January 23rd. President Biden's executive order came down his first day of being in office on January 20th. They started building this facility on January 23rd. They have hundreds of people that go through that temporary processing facility every day, and then they send them on motor coaches and airplanes to the rest of America. Anyone who thinks that this is just a border problem down here in Texas, Arizona, California, it is not. We are all now border states because we asked the question, where are they all going to? They're going everywhere. Chicago, Charlotte, Florida, Minneapolis. They're going all over our country. And the estimates that we saw is about 2 million people is the estimate the Biden administration is making right now are going to come across the border illegally into the United States this year. 2 million alone. So think about it. Minneapolis, St. Paul, the size of that community is coming in illegally across our southern border this year as a result of the Biden administration policies.
I want to take a quick, kind of a little, I wouldn't say break here, but I want to get to a couple of questions here. There is one here from Betty that says, why won't you work with the administration instead of complaining? I'm sure you get this kind of a question. So how do you respond to that?
That's a great question by Betty. So what happened on January 20th with the executive orders, and Betty can check this out as well as others, is that there were 3 changes made to policy via executive order by President Biden. One is it stopped the stay in Mexico protocol, where you have to stay in Mexico while you're being processed in order to come in here. Now they're just allowed into America. The second thing is the border wall construction was stopped. We went to a couple places where the border wall, and there's gaps, is not being finished. So you got these big gaps and people can get in through there. But the third thing was the catch and release policy. So we were traveling down some dusty roads the other night. It was about midnight along the Rio Grande, and we would run into groups of people. There'd be like a dozen or 2 dozen of these migrants that would be walking after having crossed the Rio Grande. And they were just searching for Border Patrol staff. In fact, in places there were arrows pointing them to the direction they should go. And when the Border Patrol people would stop them, they would just say, they give themselves up and they would give an address and a phone number of where they want to go. Under the catch and release policy of the Biden administration that was just implemented on January 20th, all the Border Patrol and the other border security offices that are down here, all they can do is process those people, put them on motor coaches, put them on planes, and send them to the rest of America, rather than sending them back and making them go through the legal process. One of the greatest travesties of this is that you have people coming in illegally who are jumping the line of people who want to come here legally. We all believe in legal immigration. We can all point back to ancestors we have that came into this country from someplace else, but it should be done legally, and it's not. So what we're trying to do at this point, Betty, is we're just pointing out to the public, this is what's happening. This is the change in policy that was made on January 20th. Until it's changed, and don't take my word for it, ask the Border Patrol, ask the local sheriffs down here who we met with yesterday. They will tell you the same thing. It's a change in policy. In fact, Ben, I'm gonna go on just one more minute on this issue. I posed a question at that roundtable yesterday to the sheriff from Jackson County, Texas.
I just wanted up and say thank you, because that was literally a question. The other questions, I really don't prepare for these, but I wrote down in that thing yesterday, you had asked the sheriff this question. I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't understand your question. Now, he certainly did, but I didn't really understand what you were asking. So please go ahead, because I didn't really get it.
So I just explained the three policies that were changed by the Biden administration, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is what opened up the border. And I asked, he said, we need more money to be able to handle all the stuff that's going on in our county now. We're seeing more narcotics trafficking. We're seeing more violent crime. We're seeing more high-speed chases that end up in crashes. Hospitals are getting much more traffic as a result of that. They have schools that are having many more migrant children that are in there, can't speak English, and they have to have more staff and teachers to be able to take care of these things. I asked him, I said, if you had a choice and you only get to choose one, you're going to get more money from the federal government to deal with your concerns, or have the Biden administration change their policies that they put in place January 20th back to what they were pre-January 20th, which one would you take? Most of the time, you're going to hear from a public official, I want more money.
Right.
He said, no, change the policy back. Bring back, stay in Mexico. Resume building the border wall. Stop catch and release is what he said. I would rather have the change in policy. And by the way, the head of the Border Patrol said the same exact thing.
Yeah, and he didn't hesitate. So I didn't hear that first part. I must have missed that during that roundtable, because I didn't know about these three things. So I didn't, like, would you rather have this? And boy, he didn't hesitate at all. He said, change of policy. Like, no questions asked. So what is, obviously there must be a reason for this. There must be, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat or anybody, just Joe Blow on the street, not associated with anything. We all want to do what, the right thing that we feel is the right thing. There must have been something behind this. There had to have been someone that said there's virtue in doing this. From your understanding, what was that virtue? What was the goodness that comes from these three decisions that were made on January 22nd or on January 20th?
And we heard this from the head of the Border Patrol. He said, we are very giving people in America. We are generous. We will help people out. And I think that's part of what some people say. We should be sharing our wealth in the United States of America. We're the greatest country on earth. We should be sharing our wealth with the rest of the world. And if people want to come here, we should simply have open borders. But I heard a very poignant story from another Border Patrol agent. He talked to some people, and by the way, almost all these Border Patrol agents, they're all Hispanic, nearly all of them. And this fellow, he was Hispanic also. And he said he talked to families down in Central America. He made a visit down there just to talk to people. And he said, why do you want to send your children to the United States? Why would you make them go on that hundreds and hundreds of mile trek that is so dangerous? And they said, we want our children to get away from the gangs here in Central America. And the Border Patrol agent said, do you think they're going to get away from the gangs in America? Oh, yes. They will be safe there in America. And he proceeded to lay out for us what happens. If that child makes it to the United States, makes it through this processing facility, goes to another part of the country, probably with a friend or relative that they may know that they can stay with, that child will then enter school, has no English, knows no English, will probably struggle at school because of the lack of being an English learner, will get frustrated with school, will have very few friends because they're frustrated. Who do they turn to then? They turn to the gangs. So they're going to end up with the same gangs that they would have been with in Central America. And make no doubt about it, MS-13, one of the most notorious gangs, and there's many others, they are here in the United States of America. They are in our cities. They are in places like Minneapolis. Those gangs are there. And this Border Patrol agent said to these families, your child is going to end up in a gang somewhere. And to say it's safer in America, you're sending your kid who can't speak English to a place like Chicago. I mean, Chicago, with dozens of shootings every day, deaths in Chicago by gang warfare happens regularly. You are not safer. And this is the words of a Border Patrol agent down here. You are not safer here in the United States for many of these people. Some people view this as humanitarian. It is not in any way, shape, or form. And that's one of the main stories that I'm getting by visiting the border here.
Well, and as your role as a congressional district representative, it's much larger, right? So, yes, you represent the 7th Congressional District in Wisconsin, but a lot of the things that you are a part of, being at the Capitol and having your role, it affects the nation. But so that's more of the macro, right? So bringing more of the micro into just the 7th Congressional District in Wisconsin, in northwest Wisconsin. You had brought up Chicago, you brought up the Twin Cities, but that's still not northwest Wisconsin. So, I don't know. We see these things on TV, we see the news, we see it's horrible, and you're saying, man, this is really getting bad and all these things. I don't know. Does it, like right now, you're seeing these horrible things, but I live here in Spooner, and I don't know. I don't see any difference. Like, how does that impact anyone in our area?
Go to the Barron School District, go to the Abbotsford School District, go to a lot of school districts. They have migrants that have come to their communities, and many of them are fine people. You know, we all want what's best for our neighbors and for humanity in general. But many of the people coming across the border now, that contact they live in Abbotsford or they live in Barron. That contact may be in Medford. And we just don't see them, but they're coming throughout the country. And here's the big concern is that they're going to end up in schools, hospitals, all those things that we put public monies into. And we're having a hard enough time now. Look at all the school referendums that we had across northern Wisconsin earlier this week. That's partly to deal with the concerns that our schools want to make sure they're properly funded to be able to educate our children. You bring in a bunch more people, especially non-English learners, that's going to be very expensive. We saw a number of kids that are autistic in that Donna, Texas facility. Autistic students oftentimes cost $30,000 to $50,000. If they come into a local school district here in northern Wisconsin, that's the job of that local school district. They have to take care of that student. They have no choice. And so it's not a better life for the migrant. And it certainly causes a strain on public services for those of us that live throughout the United States, including in the 7th Congressional District.
So so what do we do about it, right? I mean, I'm going to assume if I asked you, how do we fix this? How do we address this? I'm assuming the first thing you would say would be we need to roll back those policy changes, those 3 things that you had mentioned. Just a guess, correct me if I'm wrong. And then what? Is just doing that? Now, I highly doubt that's going to happen, obviously. So how do we fix this? And here's a question. Those policies stay in place. They don't get reversed. We don't go back to pre-January 20th. Can we fix this? And if so, how?
No, if these policies are not changed, the Biden administration has said 2 million people are going to come illegally across the southern border this year with the policies that they implemented on January 20th. So it doesn't take long to do the math. I mean, so think about the numbers in February were 100,000 people. The numbers in March were 170,000 people. And Border Patrol is telling us we haven't hit peak season yet. Peak season is to come, April, May, June. That's when you're going to see even bigger numbers. And that's why the Biden administration is now talking about opening military bases to do this. I mean, this truly is an invasion that's coming across our southern border. So I just say to people, don't take my word for it. If you have the wherewithal and you really want to see the truth, come down here. Come down here to the southern border and talk to the Border Patrol, talk to Border Service, talk to the people at Office of Refugee Resettlement, talk to all those people that are involved with this. They will tell you the truth. Talk to the local sheriffs down here. They will tell you what is going on down here. And I think that's the first thing that has to happen. People need to deal with the reality of the situation. And then the next thing is, I don't care what your political persuasion is. Is this what you want? Is this what you want as a humanitarian crisis? Is this what you want is people traveling, sending their children, oftentimes alone, 1,000 miles to cross the Rio Grande, and they have to pay a minimum of $4,000 to $5,000 to the cartels in order to get into the United States. And then there's no guarantee they're going to end up where you were hoping they we're going to in the United States of America. There is nothing humane about this policy. So the beginning is to roll back those three policies. Let's reinstate remain in Mexico, allow people to be processed while staying in Mexico, resume building the border wall. It works. It funnels people. When you talk to the Border Service, they say, we can more effectively deal with these people who are coming in if you funnel them to these central checkpoints. There should be a place for people to be able to come in, but it should be controlled. The third thing, stop, catch, and release. With these kids in pens down here, there's a reason why that happened, and that's because of the Biden administration implementing catch and release. There's no other way to put it, and I believe it's very nonpartisan in saying it that way. And then Congress needs to stop. Congress, let's put it in a positive way. Congress needs to start to deal with this issue. It's been used as a political football. There is no reason that this can't be solved. One final point is that this is not just about Mexico or Central America. When you talk to the agents down here, they see people from Poland, Hungary, Bangladesh, Africa, China. They come from everywhere. And all they have to do is pay the entrance fee of $5,000 to $50,000, depending upon where they come from, to the cartels, because the cartels control the southern border in Mexico.
Have you heard from the people that you talked to down there regarding our vice president not making a trip down there as of yet? Is there any speculation as to why? Is that something, and maybe a follow-up to that already is, I don't know, do you think you should, or she should be there just to see? I mean, you're learning a lot, and just by being down there, has it been beneficial? Is this something that, man, if you're kind of a part of this, you really need to actually see this in real time?
I think this is like any instance. It always helps to see what's going on the ground. And I would just pose the listeners, or the question back to you, Ben, and your listeners. Do you think it would be helpful to see what's actually happening? How can you make policy decisions if you don't see what's going on? And I would go back to what we heard at the roundtable yesterday from the head of the Border Patrol. He said this is unprecedented. You hear that from them when you go meet with them. And the second thing is the sheriff. He said, is this intentional? Is this deliberate? And the only way you can resolve that question in these local people's minds is to come down here and see what's happening. And that's why I came down to the southern border.
Well, we had a whole bunch more to get to. We're already at our 9 o'clock. I did want to bring up just one other thing. And by the way, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. This is so cool. When I called or contacted your press secretary yesterday, because I know we missed last month, I said, yep, just confirming for tomorrow morning show. She said, well, he's down in Texas, southern border. And I'm like, oh, so we're going to miss another one? She's like, no, I think we'll be able to do it. So thank you so very much for doing this. But I wanted your quick opinion, because it just happened this morning, or it's being announced this morning, that it's going to be coming out. I'm assuming you're aware of it, that Biden is going to announce some executive actions on gun laws. Obviously, we could have a whole show just on that. And to be clear, these aren't things that are going to executive order done, and that's it. These are just like first step kind of a things. Well, I have several questions on this, but since we're running out of time, I'll just ask you, what is your overall thought about the proposed orders from Biden that he's going to be looking or signing today?
Ask your local sheriffs whether they think of denying people their Second Amendment rights, because that's exactly what it is. And he's about to name the head of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, which is in charge of this stuff. And this person is a gun banner. I mean, it's very clear what's going on. So think about what we're talking about here today, Ben. Here's President Biden wants to take away legitimate rights, people's legitimate rights for the Second Amendment today. And here we have this travesty that's happening on the southern border. Which is more important, taking away people's Second Amendment rights of the citizens of the United States, or letting people across the border illegally into our country, where they're going to go to a place where their life probably is not going to be better, where public services are going to be stretched to the max, like healthcare and schools? Does that make America better? President Biden is making a very bad choice today.
Yeah. And I'm going to throw this up. This is also from Betty, because she's asked this, I think, several times already. So I'm sorry, Betty, and I'm sorry for others. We didn't get to them all. But she had asked you earlier, and I just can't find it right now, the reason that you voted to overturn the election.
I did not vote to overturn the election. I voted to review all election irregularities that went on, and some of that is going on now. Real quickly, Virginia and Michigan courts have said you need to change how you went about your elections in 2020 because you broke the law in those states. And I would urge Betty and others, and once again, this is done in a very honest, nonpartisan way. Review what happened in Green Bay when a Mark Zuckerberg funded group put in over $1 million and a campaign operative had the keys to the elections in Green Bay, literally had the keys to the election at the behest of the mayor of Green Bay. Look at those stories. There are irregularities. They need to be fixed so people have confidence in elections.
You need to go eat some breakfast now. Sorry to keep you from all of that. Any last words? Anything you want to kind of wrap up with? I know, again, you and I could do this for like 2 hours once a week. Any last words for our viewers?
Hey, great to be on. We started listening sessions in February. We did 5 more last week, including in Hudson and Superior, Medford, Phillips, and Wausau. And we will be doing more. People should be on the lookout for them. Also, if you want to get my weekly update, to get an update from the district and what's happening in Washington, D.C., just go to my website and you can sign up. We put that e-update out every week via email on a Friday. It's great to be on, Ben.
I'm starting to, I got a funny feeling that I don't think Betty likes you very much.
I like Betty, and I'm glad she watches your show and she pays attention and asks the tough questions. Thank you, Betty.
I've been
You should ask the tough questions of politicians.
Sure. Let me know what they are, and I will. I'm Ben Dryden. You've been watching Breakfast with Tiffany with 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany. Thank you for watching. I'll see you right back here on Tuesday for another episode of Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy. And again, 1 week from today, on next week Thursday, for our monthly scheduled Politically Speaking with Adam Jarko and Patty Schochner show. Until then, stay safe, stay positive, and as always, have a blessed day.